another super chat. Thank you again, Thomas, with the super chat. He says, yes, I'm running a 7.2.4, but I was just curious, what digital amp recommendations would you have to run for Atmos ceiling speakers? That leads to something. I'll give my recommendations, but Aaron, you're using March Audio. That's not something I'm familiar with. That sounds like
it's an Australian brand. Yeah, it's an Australian brand.
Australia.
So they use different stuff, but mostly they're known for their Purifi amplifier modules. So, but they make good stuff, man. It's I think he's an aerospace engineer that does, but he also makes speakers too. So he does a little bit of everything, I guess. And the speakers are really top notch as well.
That's a Sointuva.
I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Yeah, it's something like that. I want to test out their tower speakers that they're coming out with, but maybe that'll be a little bit further down.
And so, what's the price point on those March Audio ones?
Well, so I've got a pair of the P501 monoblocks. I think they're like $1,600 each.
Woo!
Wow.
But I mean, realistically, we all know that when you know people in the industry, you get discounts. So I don't pay that much.
So the Purifi amplifiers, because you always hear Purifi, and then you hear like Hypex. These are like some good models. Do they already have that feedback?
Yeah,
they're
good.
For a long time, right?
I think the Purifi and the Hypex are probably like the best out there as far as Class D amplifiers you can get. I don't know that I would even bother looking at a Class D amp that doesn't feature one of those two modules in them.
But they've basically, what is the new one? Like the WIM amp Pro is going to use the Texas Instruments chip, but it's going to have that feedback. I always forget what the acronym is.
Oh God, phase forward feedback. I don't know, man. I can't remember. PFFB. I know that's the acronym. But I can't remember what it stands
Thank
for.
you. It has that PFFB, but these old like Hypex stuff, and the other one has had that type of feedback loop for a long time.
Yeah, they're clean. They're flat. I don't think they're load dependent. I mean, there might be some models that are, but I don't think any of the Purifi modules are. Hypex, then maybe they have older models that are, but I don't know about. I'll be honest, man, that's not something I keep up to date on. Like when I bought the March Audios, I found a review for those and the data looked really good. And I was like, those seem like some of the better ones that you can get today. So that's what I went with.
But I guess what I'm saying is that kind of the cool thing about these new inexpensive Texas Instruments based chips, that they have this technology.
Yeah.
That the better stuff has. Yeah.
I think the main thing is just actual like power capability, in terms of a quick sine sweep or something like that. Yeah, maybe it would deliver 100 watts, but can the power supply actually sustain a lot of output for a while? And that's where the more expensive Class D amplifiers usually prevail, and their noise levels are still lower by a good bit, but it's to the point where even the Texas Instrument stuff, the noise levels on those so low that unless you're running super high sensitivity amplifier or speakers, and even then I don't even know that you could, but I don't even think I would worry about it unless that was the case and I was sitting right up next to them.
Okay, because I'm not really good with this amplifier stuff. A guy I talked to, John, he's out there. If he's watching, he knows what's up. He's kind of my dude when it comes to this stuff. He's the kind of guy who like makes his own amplifiers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And he says like a lot of times the limitation is mostly the power supplies.
Right.
And he's like, what do you expect from these WIM amps? Like, he's like, the thing is $300 or whatever. Like, you think that thing is going to have a ton of power? Like, they can't afford to come up with a beefy power supply. It's just outside of the budget.
It's not just that. It's all the other stuff they pack in on top of it too, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you boil it down to just the amplifier, you've got stuff like the Yima and the Fozzy, stuff like that. They're like $100 for 2 channels at 100 watts each.
Yeah. So Thomas, back to your question, you're asking about digital amp recommendations for Atmos ceiling speakers. And by digital amp, I think I'm assuming you mean Class D.
Class D.
And I don't think that the Class D doesn't stand for digital.
No,
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think.
But I think that's why I'm kind of guessing here. I'm guessing you're meaning Class D. A 4-channel. Do you have any 4-channel recommendations, or would you just go with 2 separate ones?
4-channel. I don't. So the chat's lighting up saying Buckeye. So Buckeye is a good brand from what I've seen, like on ASR. Their stuff looks like it's reviewed pretty favorably. Gosh, what's the other brand? They sent me one of their amps, but it was kind of messed
I
up.
have an OSD one, right? I have an OSD amp.
Stark Sound.
Okay.
Stark. STARK.
Well, the OSD ones are not Class D, so they're Class AB.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it depends on how much you want to spend.
See, these guys are recommending stuff that is like, you know, an entire system, an entire amp, right? Like, what do you call it? Like the size of an AVR, right?
Oh yeah.
Now we're talking about Atmos ceiling speakers, and at this point, I'm almost feeling like just get 2 decent Class D amplifiers. What you're gonna look for though is try to find something with trigger, right? Because you don't want those on all the time. You want them to turn on when you turn on your AVR.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So some of the stuff from Fosse and maybe the IEMA ones. I know the Fosse stuff is starting to have trigger inputs.
Yeah, I would even see if Dayton Audio has some stuff, because I'm looking online right now and I'm not going to go through everything that they sell, but they might be somebody worth checking into on Parts Express and see if you can find anything there too.
Yeah. I would just make sure it's not noisy, right? That's all. Get something that's decent. It's just for hype speakers. And there's not a ton going on there.
Here's what I'm saying. If it depends on how much you want to spend. You want to say you want to spend $500 to $600. I would say screw those little speakers and get a 3-channel to power your front stage, and then run the ceiling speakers off the Denon.
Yeah, could do that.
That would be a better, because if you're gonna end up spending $200 or $300 on like little amplifiers or whatever, might as well just fucking.
Hey, it's a good idea.
Break out the wallet and just get something with the front stage, like the Emotiva A3, 140 watts per channel, 8 ohms, all channels driven. And then you're guaranteeing like you got all that headroom and you got all that power.
Okay.
For the front stage. Yeah.
You win. I think that's a good recommendation. You can't lose out. You're always going to be using your left and right speaker for sure.
Yeah.
Right. So if you get some good amplification for those, and we did it at the trade show, we ran everything off the 7-channel external, right? The OSD amp, and then the heights we just ran off the AVR, and there was no issue.
Yeah.
And we were playing that thing loud.
Oh yeah.
Make sure to check out our audio-only version of the podcast at anchor.fm/Daily HiFi, or just go to your favorite podcasting service and search for Daily HiFi.